Hi guys, welcome back
To the Air podcast.
to the podcast, buddy. To the Bro Pod, the greatest pod alive.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know
Superpod.
if we have a name anymore since it's all Brad's accounts.
Yeah, but
Never, you did not change a thing, and
I
it's
know.
been almost a year.
Mistakes were made. Okay, laziness was a contributor to this problem.
Okay, I can't say nothing. I do the same bullshit. Um,
So,
alright.
as we see, you got two stylish people over here,
Give or take, I'm
Yeah.
dressed nice.
and we're gonna start this off. We're talking about something beautiful: housing crisis in Canada.
Yep.
And I'm here to give you guys some motivation and some depression. All right, so this is going to be a quick snippet on why I'm going to tell you my personal opinions on housing. All right, housing. Do you like living under a house?
I got mixed feelings, but yeah.
All right, that gets a little weird, but most people would say yes, I like a house. Okay.
Oh, in my house, I did.
Yeah. Well, if you like living in your house, I don't know if you like living in your house either. Everything's gonna be
I
rented
have
out.
mixed feelings. Indian dudes are basically homeless until their parents kick them out.
Perfect. Okay, so now, what I want to tell you my personal views on housing because I'm trying to make this podcast as authentic as I can. So, housing is great, and housing needs a supply and demand to keep it running. Correct. Now, I want to tell you guys the sad part about housing. Housing prices will probably never go as low as we think they'll go. The reason is supply and demand at this moment in time is way too out of proportion. They're building houses fast, but they don't even have enough houses to keep
house us,
exactly to
yeah.
house the people already in Calgary versus the population growth that we're experiencing. Even if half of it gets taken away, so it's only half of it, we're still super behind on housing, and a lot of that's due to, you could blame government, you could blame people, you could blame whatever you want. At the end of the day, the one biggest reason why housing won't go down, and this is something that I haven't been heard talked about anywhere, that's why I'm bringing it up today. Do you believe the government wants to lower housing?
No way in hell.
Okay. The main reason why it's not in the government's favorable position is how many people do you think rent versus own homes in Canada or in the USA as well?
So in Canada, it's disparate. I can tell you what percentage owns the homes.
It's more, correct?
It's more.
Yeah.
So it's a small percentage that owns the homes,
Mhm.
and a large representation of people who live
Yeah.
in the homes renting.
Okay, so here is the true analogy to people who own homes, and this could count for they have multiple homes versus one home, right?
Mhm.
But they're out of 5 people, 4 people own homes. I know it doesn't sound like it's real, but it is very real. So the statistics is at that moment, and again, I'm including America too in this. I'm not just including Canada, right? I'm including pretty much everything. So now here's a question for you: if you are the Prime Minister of Canada, right? Do you want 4 out of 5 people to vote for you or not?
Unknowingly,
Yes, right? So here's the issue with housing. If housing prices drop, such as like we've had crashes before, like 2008, but that was not a plan. That was not something the government did. Like they obviously inadvertently made that happen, but they did not try to make housing go down that low. It was something that happened because of other financial problems.
Yeah.
The reason why they are not trying to indefinitely, why they'll always say we want to lower housing, but they can't, is because if you force housing to be lower, let's just say, for example, you build 1 million more homes or fucking multiple millions worth of homes, and housing prices drop by 20 to 30%. What are people's biggest investments in
Their homes.
In homes, right? So people consider their home as their best investment. Now we can go back and forth and say that's not an investment versus that is an investment, but people consider their biggest investment their home. Recently, property tax went up by almost 15% on average. That's crazy.
1.5 for us,
Exactly.
yeah.
So that's crazy. Now people hate that and people love that. They don't want to pay more tax, but they love knowing their home is more valuable. If you tell me tomorrow that all of my properties, and I have multiple properties, are going to go down 20%, I'm going to be triggered. And who can you blame when you cannot blame anybody?
Apparently the government.
The government. And you're always going to blame the government. So if somebody's in power, their idea is not to lower prices substantially because they don't want to lose power. If 4 out of 5 people hate the government because their biggest investment just got lost, they are not going to be voting them in. So in a game of politics, housing will never go down. Housing has to continuously steady go up, and they've said that as well, that the biggest investment are people's homes. So if people feel like, well, my home's dropping in value, they're not going to be happy about it. So that is just a fundamental reason on why housing is never going to go down to historic lows, why people think. Doesn't mean you're not going to have turns in the market. Of course, you're going to have that with supply and demand. If people wanted interest rates, everything, all that jumbo stuff is going to make a big difference. But at the end course of stuff, you will never get a price drop like 50%. That's consistently going to be there. So you will not be able to rely on that happening for you in the future. That sounds pretty sad for everybody, right? That means people who don't own homes, the 1 out of 5 people who want homes, usually these are the students. These are the immigrants, or these are the people who are just getting out of high school. Even the people who are born here will not have that opportunity, right? And some people will be lucky and they'll be the lone kid, and they're probably gonna get their parents home. But what if you have two siblings? Then one person has to find a different home, right? Unless you build it into a duplex, which is just a whole other situation. But the way this is going to be motivational for all of my viewers over here, all the people that I love, is this. All right. Although it is challenging to get property, it is challenging. There are, at this moment in time, there have never been easier. Well, okay, I won't say that. There are very easy ways to also get housing. We'll talk about some of those statistics here. You still need a big down payment. But back when, let's just talk about 50 years ago. Before, it was even harder to buy properties because you had to have more money down. Now, compared to, a lot of people say wage compared to how much you're making versus how much houses were, it was always a challenge. Maybe not as big as a challenge as it is now with the shortage, but there's always a challenge. So people have done it in the past. People will do it in the future. You just don't have to give up. You don't have to think, oh, I'm never going to be able to buy a property. You will, but you have to save up down payment. Like 5% more for 5% for your first home is a relatively new thing. It's not an old thing. It's relatively a new thing. Before, you have to put down 20%, right? Now, obviously, putting 20% versus 5% is a big difference. And when you guys get married, you'll have dual income, which you can do as well, right? So there's a lot of ways to look at this negatively, but there's also ways to look at it positively. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents on house prices, just because I haven't had anybody heard of this take. All right. Thank you for watching. I love you, my beautifuls.
Wait, that's it?
Oh, that was